I'm here with Cyrus Schenck, um, founder of Renoun. First of all, welcome to the Blister Summit and welcome to Mount Crested Butte.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and meet you after so many emails and so many years.
I know. And in fact, when we met, it actually had not occurred to me that we hadn't met in person because of that reason. And just the world is a screwy place these days. That kind of took me aback when you were like, it's great to meet you in person. And I was like, what?
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been to Crested Butte before?
I was here 5 years ago for a different type of test, and I think I skied like one run, and yeah, a lot of sitting at the bottom with a screwdriver in your hand kind of thing.
Yeah.
But cool mountain for sure, and I'm glad to be back. It's a special place
Yeah.
for sure.
We're going to get into some current Renoun skis here, but I want to back up for a second in case somebody out there hasn't heard about Renoun or isn't too familiar with the story and your story. So let's go with, when someone says like, what is Renoun? How do you answer the question?
So yeah, so when people ask, what Renoun is and who Renoun is, we're a high-end boutique ski company, and we incorporate a really unique technology inside the skis that essentially allows us to change the natural frequencies, the dampness of a ski in real time with the material inside of there. And it's something that we've kind of built out of kind of space industry know-how and materials. And we were just the first ones crazy enough to put it inside a pair of skis and got some awards and some patents for it.
Mm-hmm. And I have said this before, but everything you just said sounds like total BS, right? And I have told you this,
Yep,
and I have
totally.
written this, except then when we started getting on Renoun Skis, however many years ago that was, it still to this day is one of the trippiest, kind of most mind-bending experiences I've had, having done this for over a decade. And so yeah, if there is a understandably skeptical person hearing this, we can attest that it is a different feel. And that is one of the really cool things I think about having you here at this Blister Summit is we are having people that can go get on this stuff and find out for themselves. So when did Renoun start?
Technically, we started in 2011, and I was studying aeronautical engineering at Clarkson and didn't exactly know what I was doing there in like a life sense, in the sense that, what school, why do we do this thing? I worked for GE. I was about to drop out, worked for GE for a year, and really realized that I definitely did not ever want to do that for a job. And I dropped out and started Renoun, and I'd been building skis on the side, and right before I left, I came across the material that we now put in our skis in class, and I just remember our teacher, his name is Ajit Ashutan, specifically said, "I hate teaching undergrads because you guys are a bunch of knuckleheads." And I can say that because I've also said this story to his face, and he thinks it's hilarious. But yeah, I just thought it was a cool concept. And when I came across the material, to me, it made sense. Like, okay, you have something that at rest goes away. It's basically nothing. It's not stiff or anything. And if you shake it, i.e. vibrate it, i.e. chatter in a ski, it's going to get stiff. And to me, that just made a lot of sense. Like, as a skier, somebody who's been, skiing since class 6 since I was 3 years old, my parents put me on skis kind of thing. It just made sense to me. And I started Googling, non-Newtonian skis or skis that stiffen or tint materials in skis. And I couldn't find anything. So I kept building skis myself, did some testing, found some suppliers for this type of material because it's not new. Like, right, I should definitely preface with what we were doing is applying an existing material to the ski market. This is proven non-Newtonian stuff, like your blood is non-Newtonian, sand and water is non-Newtonian, cornstarch and water is non-Newtonian. And this non-Newtonian bucket just describes this material that has like pretty unique and kind of cool properties that happen to work really well in skis. So yeah, I just started putting it inside skis, and the supplier initially told me, "Hey, you can't do that. It's not possible." So I did it anyhow, obviously. And I also remember distinctly, I put in a few pairs of skis, and we hadn't got a test back yet, but I live in Vermont, and Jason Leventhal from Line, right? He also lives there. And I found his phone number in the phone book, and I call his house. And Jay's like, I'm 20 years old. Jason Leventhal's on the line. I was like, what? This is crazy. And I was like, hey, Mr. Leventhal, you don't know who I am. You don't know anything, but okay, so I have this cool idea. I really want to show you. Can I show you? And he's like, to his credit, he was like, yeah, man, come by the office, whatever. And like the next day, walked in his office with this like goo and a pair of skis. And I was like, hey, I'm Cyrus Schenck. I live down the road from you. I want to put this goo and I like wrapped it on my finger where it's like kind of soft and malleable. Wrap it on my finger, take a hammer and smash it and show him like how stiff and hard it gets, like when it gets hit. And I'm gonna put this inside skis. And he sat back and laughed so hard. Like it was just, it was amazing. And he was like, dude, I thought I saw this all. I've been in the industry for so long.
Yeah.
You're crazy and you should totally do it.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then 5 years later we won ISPO, forwarded him the email. He's like, well, shit. Like, there you go. So yeah, I mean, I guess technically I'm a dropout, but I just couldn't imagine anything, what I was trained to become, I never wanted to do. And I feel super lucky that I was able to leave school before I kept spending a bunch of money there.
Amazing.
So I started a ski company and spent a lot of money there.
Of everything you just said, probably the most important question to ask. Blood is non-Newtonian?
Yep.
Okay, so you could put like blood in skis? Is that what you're doing
Yeah,
over here?
you could. You might get sued.
Yeah.
Unless it's your own, I suppose.
Maybe maybe next year at
That's
the Blister
actually,
Summit.
That's 2026.
Yeah.
I'll tell anybody this. This is not live. Yeah. But similar properties, obviously very different ways of getting there. And the stuff we put inside is far more, it exhibits far more non-Newtonian-ness. Let's just say it's more non-Newtonian than blood.
Yeah. And so, again, people can either read some of our reviews, but if they don't want to do that, basically the benefit of this then, well, let me hear how you would describe the benefit of this then.
Yep, sure. At the end of the day, a pair of skis, any pair of skis in the world right now, other than a Renoun, is the faster you ski it. The ski is always going to be the same. A Renoun, a ski with a non-Newtonian material inside, the faster you ski it, the harder you ski it, the more vibrations it comes across, it will effectively get stiffer. So think of like, if you're hauling down a slope, it's like adding a sheet or 2 sheets or 3 sheets of metal to your ski for those instances that you need it. And as you start slowing down, or you don't ski as aggressively, or you're not hitting the ice anymore, it kind of just goes away. So it's kind of like an automatic suspension in a car, but there's no electronics and it happens instantly.
But something you haven't talked about yet is that you have tended to make skis that are quite light. So that I think is worth talking a bit about. We talk a lot about weight at Blister, and I am known to be a fan of skis with mass, and that can lead to some suspension properties that I quite like. But Renoun Skis, these are not sort of among similar weights of all mountain skis that happen to exhibit the properties you're talking about. These skis are pretty light relative to the other skis in their categories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a testament to like the material we put inside it. It's so interesting. Like we are genuinely bringing a material that has never been used in a ski before into the ski world. And because at those higher speeds, those higher chatter situations, we're able to exhibit the feeling of metal, we don't have to actually add metal. So we don't have to add that mass because the VibeStop, the material we put inside, actually acts like metal when we need it to. And funny enough, it's about 1/3 the density of a maple core. So in our case, we're milling out these narrow channels, about 12 millimeters wide, in the tip and tail. There's 3 in the tail. And so we're actually taking away some of that mass, which is why our skis tend to be lighter. And this is something that we've also talked about too, is that we started, I think, too far on this side of the spectrum because we were like, oh wow, we can do this amazing thing with this crazy new material. Let's go light. And then we started prototyping more and realized that, oh yeah, even with VibeStop, even with our crazy stuff, like you said, mass is great. Mm-hmm. I think Francois Sylvain, the Ski Canada crazy ski guy that designed a bunch of K2 and line skis back in the day, his famous thing, and I this is not mine, this is his. There's a reason why mass dampening is outlawed in Formula One racing. because it works really well.
Huh.
So yeah, mass definitely works. And I think we're able to kind of cheat physics a little bit with our VibeStop. It's not saying that, we're going to go out and build the lightest possible ski we can. But what's kind of cool is that we can get the attributes, the physical characteristics that we want out of from a heavier ski without actually being quite as heavy. And I think quite is the operative word here. Is again, we're not trying to go super, super lightweight. We just want something that's like a little bit lighter. So like the endurance, the kind of the hallmark all mountain ski we have is still sub 2,000 grams. And that's pretty light for, an all mountain ski that you can rail on and people hit some pretty high speeds on.
Yeah. So why not actually go full light, right? Like thinking about as uphill skiing is getting a lot more popular. There's Skimo out there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you built like a 700, 800 gram ski?
We have not built a ski that light. We have one of our athlete photographers who does a lot of Skimo, and we did make one of these skis in basically the lightest setup we possibly could have. And he loved it. I think for me, somebody was asking me actually recently, who designs and who decides where a ski lineup goes and who decides what's going to be next in the marketplace. And, part of it is, you want to chase and see where the customers are going to go and buy your skis. Because at the end of the day, if you're not selling skis, you're not going to survive and you can't build more skis, right? I'm a big fan of simplicity. And I think that part of it is that technology allows us to have all of our skis perform in a broader performance envelope because of the material we put inside, because of the VibeStop. But also numbers as a half engineer, I'm a big fan of looking at, okay, where are the numbers in the industry? And one thing I just recently pulled up was 61% of the skis sold in North America are under 90 millimeters and 90% are under 100. So likewise, in that case of why don't we build really fat skis? And we have, the 106 and we have a 114, which you guys have tested, which we really don't advertise. Yeah. If you want a 114, you have to call us and you have to know that you want the 114. Otherwise, it's confusing to customers and stuff like that. So likewise with a Skimo ski or a super lightweight, it's a numbers thing. Is we have limited bandwidth when we're talking to people, and we want to build the best skis possible for the people that we want to buy them. And if we start jumping off into all these different crazy areas, for us, and maybe for me personally, because I don't understand that market well enough, I don't think I could give the attention and the knowledge and know-how to that segment to really make it worthwhile for somebody who actually wants a Skimo ski. So that's probably why.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, maybe 3 years from now, that market will have exploded and it'll then make sense for you. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I don't spend time on 700, 800 gram skis, but as more people maybe are interested in that, seems like, could be an opportunity. Yeah. So I've given you two ideas. The Skimo.
Perfect.
Yeah, with your, with your secret sauce.
Are these patented? Because otherwise I'm just going to take them and run with it.
No, they're definitely not patented. You can also have the blood ski.
That's
so
two.
that's right. Two. Yeah, you're welcome.
Sweet.
Okay, let's talk about what you have here. Where do you want to start?
Sure. So I think we'll just start with the Citadel 106, which is on the far right-hand side. And that is our full carbon, not super light, as we just talked about. We started the super light side of things, and we realized that, okay, if we added 200 grams, the ski is so much better when you're not going uphill. So this ski at a 184 is 1,717 grams. It's pretty dang light.
Yeah.
It has the most VibeStop, the crazy material. Inside of it has got 5 channels of tip, 5 of tail. Essentially, it's the most stable full carbon ski out there. I guess that's my opinion on it. But numerically, statistically, it's a crazy, crazy light ski, or it's a very light ski that skis really, really well for its weight. And then going to the left of that is the Endurance 98. And that starts falling into the more the all-mountain category. Obviously, 98 underfoot, very approachable waist width, rocker camber rocker. It's got one band of Titanol metal, top and bottom of the core, so 2 Titanol bands, I suppose. That ski is a ski that is going to be able to ski in a very wide range of things. It's still sub 2,000 grams at 184, but it's not going after the same uphill capabilities that the Citadel. The Citadel is a ski that people will put a kingpin on, or a shift and go uphill sometimes, or Duke BT if they want to have the option to go uphill once in a while. whereas the Endurance 98 is more of a ski that tends to live on the resort. And then the younger, or the sibling to the Endurance 98 is the Endurance 88, which you might guess is basically its little brother, a little bit narrower. It has a maple core instead of aspen, so it's a little more dense, and 2 full sheets of metal. And then right behind, next to that is the Earhart 88. And so the Earhart is our first, and I know we talked a lot about this, and with you and a bunch of other people here at Blister, it's our first women's specific ski. And actually, funny enough, it started as the Earhart 88, and that turned into the Endurance 88, and that turned into the Endurance 98. So it actually was kind of a complete reversal of how most women's skis come to be. And what makes the Earhart a quote unquote women's ski is basically we just said, here's a blank slate, women, tell us what we should build.
Yeah.
And I think for me as a guy, I figured I need to be out of this conversation as much as humanly possible. I'll be the liaison between the factory and Renoun, but I don't want to be on that ski. As a 6'6" guy, I have no right to be on a women's ski, and I don't want to be part of that influential in the decision process of what makes that ski a women's ski. So I stayed pretty far out of that, put somebody who was working for us who was a woman in charge of that whole program, and that ski came out of it. That is very similar to the Endurance 88 in terms of shape. It's identical in shape, and essentially just has a partial sheet of metal instead of a full sheet on the top. So very straightforward. It's a very approachable ski, really easy ski to ski. Had a lot of good feedback on it, and we're really proud of where it landed and how it kind of was the genesis for the rest of essentially the men's line.
Yeah.
Kind of funny enough.
Not the typical order of things.
No,
Yeah.
and I think the ski industry is changing, as as we've also talked about, and it's and we all said this too, is I've just never heard a good reason why a men's or women's ski should be designed different, because there's so many variables that go into what makes quote unquote a good ski.
Yeah.
So I think that at the end of the day, why should I be designing a women's model in that sense? So
it's really interesting because for the last, several years, more than several years on Blister, we've been talking about this issue of women's specific skis, and I keep putting my hand up and saying I'm on the side of unisex, right? That I don't think it makes sense from a design point of view to bring gender into the equation. But what you've done, you've put a twist on women's specific, right? And it is, I went away and we just had women. You can tell me what you want to do here. That's a different take. And that I'm pretty interested in. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And, but I like that twist, because that is not the normal version of women specific that we hear.
Yeah. And I think, it's always the chicken or the egg thing. Right. And so even when we hire somebody, right, I don't look at resumes until there's equal number of women and men resumes on the table, because we obviously can't discriminate on race or in gender and stuff. But what I can say is we should have an equal number of both these things, and whoever wins kind of thing. And likewise, with a women's ski, it's okay, if we're going to design a women's ski, why should we have a guy doing that and vice versa kind of thing? So we were talking about the boots earlier, right? And it is a chicken or the egg problem of we should build a smaller boot. But no one's asking for it. It's no one's asking for it because no one knows to ask for it kind of thing. And I think that the least we could do is try. Yeah. And sure, it's going to cost some money sometimes. You're going to lose money. Maybe initially, maybe you have a home run. A fun one is the Earhart. We brought it in a 149. And I was like, there's no way we're going to sell 149. And guess what? It sold out first. So, I think that we got to give it a shot, and maybe I would have been right, and we would have lost some money, and we'd have a ski sit on the shelf for 2 or 3 years. Okay. Yeah. My job, I think, is to run a company well enough that choosing one size in the wrong direction doesn't sink us. Yeah. So, yeah.
What are the lengths available in the Earhart?
The Earhart comes from a 149, 156, 163, 170, and 177. So full range. We wanted to make sure that this ski was not just we're going to make a wimpier version of the Endurance or something like that. It's no, A, it came first, and B, if you're a taller woman, you can get on that ski too. You're not limited to a 163 or even a 170. We figured 177 was a very, very tall very, very tall ski for, a women's specific version. Where the rest of our line basically goes from a 163, 170, 177, 184. The Citadel being the outlier, also going to 191.
Yeah.
But essentially, all of our skis are 7 centimeters apart. I want to be very simple and straightforward for someone to look at our line and be able to cross compare models. There's a few caveats here. The Citadel is still like this black sheep in the herd kind of thing, that it's a 178 instead of a 177, and it's a 169 instead of 170. But apart from that, it's all relatively straightforward. And then I guess the one ski we didn't talk about is the one on the far left. There is the Atlas 80, and that's a full camber ski, 2 sheets of metal, maple core, turn and burn, rip and grip. Like if you want to lay down some tracks, that's the ski.
Yeah. Can I ask which ski has been selling best? Not lengths, but just, is one of these models kind of the clear leader, or is it a bit more even than that?
Yeah. So it's actually really interesting. When we launch a new ski, so like, when we bring out the Atlas 80, that will always kind of work its way to the top. The ski that consistently always outperforms, even if a new ski kind of outshines it for a second, the Citadel is always the one that kind of creeps to the top. And I think I actually kind of realized this at the summit here, is people, the wider you go, the less brand loyal people are.
Huh.
Right? So like a lot of our customers are coming off Vocals, Razzies, Salomons, and they're like, I've been a K2 guy my entire life. I am a Razzie guy through and through. My dad rode Razzies. Like, that's the story we hear all the time for the narrow skis. The Citadel? No. I mean, these are guys who are coming off a moment, coming off an 0-3P or Razzie. It doesn't really matter. So I think the wider you go, the less brand. And yeah, it was really interesting just looking around, realizing that like yesterday, actually.
Huh.
So that's my theory. Maybe I'm wrong, but the Citadel tends to win. It really is. I mean, we market it as like a super ski. And I'm really proud of it. It's like my personal favorite. It's a ski that I'm like the worst ski company owner. I ride just one ski.
Huh.
I do. I just have that same ski with a pin binding and with Alpine. And unless it's like really icy out on the East Coast, we're obviously known for that. I'll pull up the Atlas for those days. Otherwise, I'm on the Citadel.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. And do you have a sense of how many people are actually using it as a dedicated touring ski versus a dedicated resort ski versus going kind of putting a 50-50 binding on it?
Yeah. I think there's actually a pretty small amount who have like a dedicated uphill setup with it, even though it's pretty light.
Which is crazy to me, actually.
Yeah. I think because we don't bill it as that, we really do pitch it as like, this is a great like 50-50 ski. And like, for example, we started selling the Duke PT.
Yeah.
Because it's basically like, hey, you can be in a resort, crush it, and if you want to, you can go uphill.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like mostly people who are buying the skis, like it's a 50-50 or a 70-30 or even like a 10-90 kind of thing. But again, I think it's part of how we build it and the marketing we have behind it. Because we could, and maybe we should, is actually build that thing as like a full-on like uphill, go. And oh, by the way, it still has your back when you go downhill.
Yeah.
So,
or just run it twice, like the same ski. Here's another. This is your third idea.
Wow, this is amazing.
You're right.
All right. Yeah.
So you just build a new single page on your website. It's the exact same ski, but you just show it with a touring binding and then just bill it like, this is a remarkable backcountry ski, and this is the weight, and you tell the story, which is a true story, actually. Yeah. And then people can, who don't backcountry ski at all, they just go to the page that just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think it is actually a good idea. I would be curious in that as an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just write your description and.
Yeah. And I think we just make the top sheet black with like a big Renoun, and that's it.
Well, but the backcountry crowd likes their white top sheets.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we'll do
white.
With
think
a
about
black
that.
Renoun.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think the fun thing too is because we sell direct, because we're only online, we can do A/B tests like that all the time.
Yeah.
And we can do a small run and say we'll do 50 of these and just put it up. And if it doesn't work, we just quietly turn it into a different colorway and don't try to like differentiate it as like the uphill kind of thing. But yeah, as long as we're being honest with like, hey, this is the exact same ski, but now we're gonna show you pictures of going uphill because we have plenty of those. It's so funny with our athletes. We like kind of banned them from giving us any shot of uphill skinning or ripping their skins off because we have so many of those things. We don't need any more. So it was like downhill only because we have enough for like 17 years of marketing. So
you mentioned Vermont, but you only mentioned it once. You want to just talk a little bit more about, like, for somebody who doesn't know, like, where are you based?
Sure. Yeah. So Renoun's based in Burlington, Vermont, which I love. It's a place that more people should move to. I always tell people that I can walk to work in 12 minutes. I can windsurf during lunch, come back home, go mountain biking at some pretty awesome spots, grab a burger and beers with some friends, and be in bed by 9:30. So it's a pretty sweet spot to be, like, very local, very close to everything you love. And in the winter, obviously, we can test at Bolton, which is 35 minutes away, Sugarbush, Stowe, Jay Peak, Stratton, Okemo, Burke, Killington. It's kind of an endless playground in terms of skiing. It's not as good as CB. I'll give you that for sure.
Wow.
Especially after this week. This has been insane. But yeah, Vermont's that's where I grew up. So I'm a little biased towards that. But it's kind of cool too that, like, the Burlington, so there's a street in Burlington called Pine Street, and Rozzy and Lang and everybody used to be on this street. And now it's us, Jay Skis, Forefront, and like there's this like kind of resurgence of these ski companies coming back, and it's been really fun. Like we are constantly swapping ideas and like sharing thoughts and stuff, and because at the end of the day we're all building slidey sticks, right? It's not, we're all out here to have fun, and if we can build a little bit better product by just asking a question to our neighbor, which might be Jason Leventhal or the guys from Forefront. So I feel like very lucky that we get to be in this community where everybody is down to chat over a beer or not, and just chat skis and manufacturing and edge thicknesses and base grinding and structure and all that stuff. So
it's been cool having you here. Yeah. And this was one of the things we've been saying for a while. Like, we want more people to get on these skis, to check out the uniqueness that is these skis. And so, yeah, this has been cool for all of this to happen, and appreciate the rundown, and been fun having you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun to be here, and I'm really excited to see where the summit goes from here, because I think this is just the beginning.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks, man.
Great.